Okay, so I chose to do my book report on Teaching When the World is on Fire. And this is a book by Lisa Delpit, and this presentation is by Suzanne Sievers. Here's the text reference. So, the premise of this book. This book is a collection of work, essays, anecdotes, and examples of a lot of different current issues facing teachers in the classroom right now and different ways to handle them or ways that other people have handled them. These are issues that are imperative to address and not to be ignored. They range from Black Lives Matter, climate change, immigration, gender issues, to Islam. Honestly, anyone would benefit from reading this, but especially if you're going to interact with kids. It is an incredibly thought-provoking collection that Lisa Delpit edited and carefully curated to create a culturally responsive series of different strategies that have worked for other people when tackling complex issues. This book carries a certain urgency to have important conversations about crucial issues, whether they are uncomfortable or not. But I think what makes this book so special are the stories of actual teachers and their efforts made to do the best they can for their students within the classroom in such a confusing and chaotic time. And then I included a little quote from the introduction of the book. It says, "This book is both an appeal and summons for teachers. It is not a manual for how to change schools, but rather provides encouragement and motivation, and most of all, inspiration at a time of growing division, incivility, hate, and violence." So here are a few important things to note before reading the book. It's not just one author that we're hearing from in the story, but rather a series of teachers discussing their experience and advice on certain current issues. Also, each chapter will serve different purposes because they tackle different issues. So some will be thought-provoking, some will be calls to action, while some may serve as a model for what you might want to do in your classroom. The third point that I wanted to make is author bias. When reading any text, it's important to consider the bias. This specific author does not hold back in her opinions from the very beginning, but also since there are so many different authors in this book, there are lots and lots of different opinions. So it's important to keep that in mind so that we can be informed readers. And then I included another little quote here if you want to pause it and read it. I just thought it was interesting. So the problem in the book is less one single problem and more the collective problems that teachers face in modern society. The book is divided into portions based on politics, safety, race, gender, and sex ed, climate, and culture. The problem is that children are suffering due to issues that are out of their control, and it's up to teachers to find new and creative solutions to address these. So, a few questions that emerge from the problem. There are lots of questions since there are so many different problems addressed in the book, but these are ones that I found compelling. What is the place for racial discussions in the classroom, and how should they be addressed? And is it okay to discuss politics in class? So, my purpose in presenting this book is twofold. One is as a reflection, um, because there was a lot of heavy material in it to digest, and it's a good way to organize thoughts, but also to encourage other people to read the book. It covers a lot of crucial issues today that teachers face and could benefit other people in this program as it did me to read the book. But the author's purpose in the book is also twofold. One is to inform teachers and anyone interested on problems and solutions in modern teaching, but the author's other purpose, and probably the more important one, is to call teachers to action. She says that she puts her trust in teachers and that they are who can turn the tide on these issues. So here are some assumptions that the author presents about teaching and learning. She says that teachers are what can make the difference in changing a child's life, even when people outside of the school can't. teachers are undervalued and underpaid, although they are essential to the community. Now, she did say most of the time in this. I forgot to include that. Children learn best when they can trust and connect with who is teaching them. Creativity is what will set teachers apart in changing children's lives amongst chaos, and there is no way to keep political, worldly issues out of the classroom, so teachers must learn how to address them. There were lots of different important concepts, theories, and ideas since there were so many different issues addressed. So I just put in 6 here that I haven't talked about too much yet. One concept was protecting students' right to learn. That was in the politics section. Another was the relationship between education and freedom. A big part of the book was having conversations about race within the classroom, either about the students, teachers, or even interacting with parents who are different races. Another is responding to school violence with care instead of fear through building trust. Another is how to address teaching children about bodily autonomy and sexual assault. And then the last one I chose to include is preparing students to be what they called climate warriors, or to be able to um, know what to do in our world where the climate is in a crisis. So, the author's point of view is that children today are in trouble because of a myriad of issues impacting our country negatively. She believes it's up to teachers to help their students cope with these and thrive amongst the chaos by coming up with creative solutions to interacting with these problems. I agree with her in all of this. I believe that teachers are in very powerful positions to help positively impact students' lives, and we can do a great deal to help them prepare for and thrive under today's conditions. Our job is to prepare them to be high functioning members of society, regardless of what that society looks like. So, just because society today has lots and lots and lots of pressing issues, it is still our job to adapt to these. Um, since this book has so many different issues and so many different chapters, I just decided to talk about one of them here in the problem and solution section. So, I'm talking about the chapter on cops or counselors responding to the threat of school shootings with care rather than fear. So, the problem in this article that's addressed is school shootings and how best to prevent them. And this specific article is trying to find a solution that does not involve bringing more guns in. So, they were kind of saying that if guns are the problem, they're trying to find a way to not fight that by bringing more into the school. So, the solution that they talked about based on research and support is that schools need to have more trust between the staff and students. A lot of school violence could be potentially prevented if only students trusted staff enough to confide in them about potential warning signs. This also requires a level of accountability by students and staff to take charge in their own safety and be vigilant about reporting potential signs. So that was just about one of the chapters, but all the chapters are about different issues. So, my conclusion is that this book is clear in its call to action to teachers that we need to step up in our communities to help tackle children's perspective and interactions with current issues. Conflict is a part of life and therefore unavoidable. It's foolish to pretend like bad things are not happening and to blindly think that they are not impacting our students. As teachers, we need to find ways to address these in ways that serve the children rather than hurting them further. This can only come from creativity and collaboration between teachers and their communities. One thing that I noticed was that in almost every chapter, the connection between teacher and community was a part of the solution. We need to work together to help our students. So here is the text reference again. And I put aside for questions. If you have any further questions, you can email them to me here or comment them on this post. And I want to thank you for listening and have a good day.